But here's the difference between struggling pet sitters and what I like to call top dog CEOs. You see, struggling pet sitters focus on the reasons, while top dog CEOs focus on the results. This is the Dog Sitter's House podcast. Hello, pet sitters. Welcome back to the Dog Sitter's House podcast. I am your host, April Hampton. I appreciate you being here. Today I have a question for you. Have you ever wondered why so many pet sitters come and go so quickly? Do you ever wonder if you have what it takes to maintain your pet sitting business for the long haul too? I know I questioned it during the first few years I was in business because I was working all the time. I was barely scraping by financially, and it was just complete, utter canine chaos almost all of the time. And, I knew that this was not something I'd be able to maintain for very long. So today we're going to talk about why so many pet sitters change professions after the first few years so that you can prevent your business from failing too. Now, to be fair, I don't really believe there is such a thing as failure. I think I've said this before. If we learn from everything that happens, then it's not failure. Okay. So I really don't believe there is, quote unquote, such a thing as failure other than giving up. And, if you close your business, the business maybe failed, but you're not a failure. You still learned, you still gained a lot of experience and knowledge and wisdom and lessons that you can take with you. You have grown, and probably your next venture will go much better. But for today's purposes, today's discussion, when I say failure, I mean a pet sitting business that closes their business, stops the shop, boards up the doors, right? However you want to say that, right? So if you've ever wondered if you'll have to close your business and you want to ensure that you don't have to because you truly love working with animals, then today's episode is going to be for you. You see, most struggling pet sitters make the mistake of starting their business without having a clear vision, without clarity, without a vision at all sometimes. Sometimes there might be a bit of a vision, but it's not very clear. And that's important too. I mean, think about it. How many times have you seen or heard of a business owner of any type of business, but even especially a pet sitting business, say that they just can't take it anymore? It could be because they're working long hours with no time off, leaving them utterly exhausted and questioning if it's worth it. It could also be because they charge the average rate of their local competition and they just don't see any way out of the rat race because they know that in order to earn enough money, they're going to have to continue working all of the time. And really, who could blame them, right? Nobody, myself included, wants to work 12 to 15-hour days or more with no vacations or very few vacations, and still be barely scraping by financially even sometimes. I mean, even if you aren't scraping by financially, you don't want to work that much, do you? I don't know anybody that does. And when you're working with animals, it is not just, sitting down at a computer 8 hours a day, 10, 12 hours a day. It's physical work. So you certainly don't want to be working long days like that. And it's impossible to maintain your sanity when you do work that much less maintain your relationships, your health, your hobbies. But on the flip side, there are plenty of pet sitters out there that are well beyond their first few years in business, and yet they keep on keeping on. Even though they work long hours nearly every single day, or they might settle for a lower income and just block off one weekend a month or 2 weeks every year for vacation. Essentially, most struggling sitters end up feeling like they have to choose between two of the lesser evils, and some choose to earn less while others choose to work more. And I just don't believe that that is a viable solution that any of us should settle for. I'm not really knocking these choices, for I can certainly understand their dilemma. I've completely been there myself. But here's the difference between struggling pet sitters and what I like to call top dog CEOs. You see, struggling pet sitters focus on the reasons, while top dog CEOs focus on the results. I cannot even begin to tell you how many times I have heard pet sitters talk about all the reasons why they don't have enough business, how the hobby sitters are underpricing them, or it's January and they can't find business. But what struggling pet sitters don't realize is they're focused on the wrong thing. You've probably heard the saying, where focus goes, energy flows before, right? This is one of the best quotes one of my mentors ever taught me, because every single time I find myself feeling down or losing hope, or I'm just frustrated with things happening in my business, I would remember this quote and realize I was feeling that way because I was focused on all of the reasons why things weren't working well. So over time, I trained myself. Every time I'd catch myself spiraling down this slippery slope, I'd flip the proverbial switch in my brain and focus on the results I wanted instead of all the reasons why I wasn't getting them. I mean, can you imagine closing your business because you simply focused too much on why things weren't working versus getting the results that you wanted? And then, like a week later, you just happen to be scrolling on social media, or, some sort of ad pops up on a website you're on, whatever, and it's the perfect solution to all of your business problems. But now it's too late because you already closed up your business. And what if you had just Googled about your problem and found the same solution before you closed your business? Would you have stayed in business then? Probably, right? So let's stick with the reason versus results theme here. And allow me to tell you what I believe is the number one hidden reason why most pet sitters struggle and possibly close up shop when they don't have to. It really comes down to one magic word, and that word is sustainable. Most struggling pet sitters do not focus on how to build a sustainable business. Now, I don't mean environmentally sustainable here, okay? I mean emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially sustainable. You see, in my observation, most pet sitters who are ready to quit do not have a sustainable system in one or more of these four categories. So let's start with the emotional category. What does this even mean? If you've heard any of my previous podcast episodes, you may have heard me talk about the dog or the pet sitter syndrome. And in case you haven't, this is what I call a pet sitter who puts all of the pet's needs above and beyond their own, basically. They get so emotionally attached and wrapped up in the pet or even the customer's well-being and their needs that they do everything just shy of giving them their first child to please them, right? Now, if this sounds familiar, chances are you didn't realize that you could possibly be an empath who hasn't learned how to set healthy emotional boundaries, and you kind of take on everybody's energy for your own. Or you could suffer from a need to be liked so much so that you've become a people pleaser and you sacrifice your own needs in order to be validated as worthy. And that might sting a little bit to hear, and that might be hard to recognize in oneself and much less admit. But if this rings a bell to you, don't beat yourself up for it. In fact, if you pay attention, most people in life, especially women, I've noticed, are people pleasers. I myself am what I call a recovering people pleaser. I'm also a recovering perfectionist in progress. You see, we're taught to bite our tongue, smile, and take care of everyone ever since we're little, right? We're handed baby dolls. It's a natural, innate thing as well. I think it's nature as much as it is nurture. And us women, especially, want to take care of everyone. Okay. And if you're a man, then you probably have the gift and you love taking care of animals. You have that gift too, which does serve its purpose. But when it becomes to our own detriment, it's no longer a healthy balance. And it's one that we must recognize in order to create healthier boundaries. Now, this might mean saying no to that customer that always pings you at 10 o'clock at night asking you for a last minute booking tomorrow morning. Or it could mean firing a customer because their dog is too difficult to handle or untrustworthy around other dogs. And you happen to notice that you're always stressed out around them because you're on this high alert, anxious the entire time that you watch or walk them. Now, I have a great method that helps pet sitters develop stronger emotional boundaries that I don't have time to get into here, but a key part is developing and maintaining a strong sense of self-awareness. When you do this, you'll notice when you're feeling on edge around a dog or even a customer. You'll notice when you're saying yes, when you really mean no. And when you catch yourself in one of these moments, if you practice strengthening your emotional boundaries and stop taking all of your customers' problems, both your furry and human customers, as your own problems, as your own responsibility that you have to fix, then it gets much easier. I'm sure you can agree that when you do this, your business won't feel nearly as draining any longer, thereby making your business more emotionally sustainable. Now, the second missing component to building a sustainable pet sitting business that most struggling pet sitters don't implement in their business is mental sustainability. Let me ask you, do you live and die by the common belief that, quote, nobody can do it as well as I can, end quote? If you can relate to this or a similar belief, then chances are you are setting yourself up for mental burnout. Imagine having a business that allows you to focus only on the parts that you thoroughly enjoy 90% of the time. What would this give you? How would this affect your daily outlook? Would you feel more fulfilled? Would you feel happier more often? How would this then affect those around you? How would this affect your business, your customer service? You see, this all bleeds out into the rest of our life, and that is why it is so important that we focus on making sure we can work on the business and do the things that we most enjoy as much as possible. Consciously setting your business up in ways that will allow you to take the mental space you need on a daily basis is one of the hidden secrets to maintaining a successful business. I remember a client telling me her mom wanted to help her with her business. And this client was just working night and day, just exhausted to the max, okay? But the problem was that my client didn't trust her mom with her own dog, much less with any tasks within her business, okay? So my question to my client was, what do you trust your mom with? What are your mom's strengths? And after a little ingenuity, she came up with a few things that she could hand over to her mom and take off of her own plate. And over time, her mom started building her trust, and she was able to give her mom a few more tasks and give herself more freedom. Now her mom handles a lot of her admin work, which frees up hours of my client's time every single week. And my client can focus on growing the business instead of being so bogged down by the administrative work that she never has the energy or even creative brain cells left to focus on how to grow the business. Which really brings me to the third area of sustainability. If you do not consciously build your business so that it's physically sustainable, chances are you'll end up so exhausted that you start daydreaming about changing your profession. And possibly you will change your profession. If things don't change quick enough, that's likely what's going to happen. So, if you aren't intentional about doing what I call drafting your days so that you can architect your life, your business will architect it for you. And your whole life will be nothing but your business. You see, when I first started dog sitting, I made this exact same mistake. But once I realized my mistake, I followed my mentor's advice and I chose to focus on the new results that I wanted. Instead of focusing on why I didn't have the energy to come up with a way to work less than 16-hour days, or all of the reasons, and I had a lot of them, trust me, why I couldn't change my hours now, right? Because customers are used to this. I have customers that can't come any earlier. If I close earlier, I had a gazillion reasons for that one. But once I stopped focusing on all of the reasons why I couldn't do it, I focused on a solution that would not only solve my long work hour days, but solved multiple problems, preventing my business from being sustainable as a whole. And whether you're just starting your pet sitting business or you're already deep in the throes of it, if you take some time to daydream about what your ideal days look like. Ask yourself, how much would I be working each day? What am I spending my time on, right? Throughout your days. What are you doing when you're not working? And how is your business operating when you're not working on it, in it? Ask yourself all these questions. Look at what your values are, what's important to you. Ask how you can fit those into your days. Like I said, draft your days, architect your life. Also, a great book that I recommend. I read this in my 20s and it has served me well over the years. So I know it's an oldie book. I'm dating myself, but it's a goodie. And that is called The 7 Habits of Highly Successful People by Stephen Covey. This message in his book is really simple to understand, and it's a classic because it has all of the classic principles that one really should pay attention to when starting a business or really anything in life to be successful. But, I really apply it to business. And one of them is to start with the end in mind. If you don't take the time to create a clear vision of what you want your days to look like ahead of time, you're more likely to build your business solely based on earning more money or growing your customer base and by being everything to everyone. But when you consciously design your business so that it turns your vision into reality, you not only have a sustainable business, but you have a successful business too. Because you define what success looks like. And when you achieve a business that looks like your definition of success, then you know you've arrived. And as I mentioned before, not only did I create a solution to make my business physically sustainable, but that solution also helped make my business financially sustainable. This solution solved the never-ending dilemma nearly every single pet sitter faces, which is an unpredictable and sometimes unreliable income. When I implemented this solution into my business, I literally went from working 80 hours a week to less than 40. And I kid you not, I'm not exaggerating. And now I actually work less than 30 hours most week after additional changes and tweaks that I made to it. And I do this all without sacrificing my income. In fact, I created over $6,000 a month in recurring revenue. And I probably don't need to tell you the benefits of having a predictable and reliable monthly income, or having the peace of knowing you don't have to work 80 hours a week to scrape by any longer. In fact, this solution has been so utterly successful that I don't want to keep it to myself anymore. I believe if more pet sitters like you could take this blueprint and just simply implement it into your business, you too would benefit and more pets would be positively impacted as well. This is why I am creating a free live workshop called Automate Recurring Dogs. Anyone who does home dog boarding, provides dog walking, or even if you just do cat or dog drop-ins, could implement the same blueprint that I did in my business, and you can automatically create predictable monthly profits. It's really pretty cool. I mean, not to pat myself on the back too much, but it's awesome. I love it. It's been the best thing I ever did for my business. So here's the deal. I'm just getting it started. I don't even have a place for you to go and register yet, although that's coming soon. So if you're hearing this now, and if you're interested, send me an email at april@aprilhamptontraining.com. And that's, again, april@aprilhampton, HAMPTON, training.com. Or you can easily DM me on any of the socials. You can find me on Instagram, Facebook, YouTube under my new handle called Conscious Pet Sitter. And that's CONSCIOUS, Conscious Pet Sitter. Or unfortunately, TikTok already had that name, so I had to call that one Conscious Pet Sitters, plural. So if you go to TikTok, it's plural. If you go anywhere else, it's singular, Conscious Pet Sitter. Just DM me over there that you're interested. And when you do, you'll not only get the exact blueprint that I use to make my business more financially and physically sustainable, but you'll get the formula I use to consciously align my business with my visions and my values so that you can not only have a sustainable business, but one that gives you the freedom and fulfillment you envision when starting your own business or restructuring your own business. This formula actually includes everything from how to attract begging buyers to calming the canine chaos and more. So I'm really excited because it's lessons that I've taken from coaching clients that I've helped one-on-one grow their business from $70,000 to $145,000 in 1 year while cutting their workdays in half. So again, when you DM me on IG, Facebook, or YouTube at Conscious Pet Sitter, or TikTok at Conscious Pet Sitters, I'll make sure personally that you get registered in order to get on the live free workshop called Automate Recurring Dogs so that you can have recurring revenue and work less. But before I go, let's review the key takeaways from today's episode. The overall key takeaway was to focus on results versus reasons why your business isn't working for you. And the number one mistake most struggling pet sitters make is not focusing on how to make their business sustainable. This includes being emotionally, mentally, physically, and financially sustainable. When you consciously create a sustainable business, you set your business up for long-term success, and you reduce your failure rate tenfold. And as you've probably already recognized, you'll then have a business that you love and also gives you the freedom you desire. So until next week, thanks for listening and happy tales to you.